The ship entered Earth's atmosphere silently. No fire, no noise. It was made of dark metal that bent light around it. No one on Earth noticed when it landed in the forest, just outside the city. But it was not meant to be seen. Inside the ship, an alien stepped out. His name was Calrath, a soldier from the planet Xerion 6. His body was tall and powerful, with smooth gray skin and glowing eyes. He was not here for war. At least, that's what he told his leaders, but Kale had a secret. He believed humans were dangerous. Not because of their weapons, not because of their machines, but because they changed the rules. They always found a way to win, even when they shouldn't. This was just a visit. A study mission. Learn about Earth, talk to its people, observe. But Kale didn't trust Earth. He had read the files. Some humans were different, modified. Hidden. He was here to find one of them. The city was crowded, full of noise and lights. Kale wore a human disguise, dark clothes, gloves, a hat to hide his glowing eyes. He blended in like a shadow. His target worked at a tech company downtown. Her name was Elena Brooks. According to the report, she had no family, no criminal record, no travel history, nothing strange. But something about her data didn't make sense. Her medical file had redactions, black lines hiding information. That was not normal. Kale watched her from a distance. She was in her late 20s, slim, calm, and moved with quiet confidence. She laughed with her coworkers, drank coffee, and read books during her breaks. Just a normal woman, but Kale had instincts. And his instinct said, she is not normal. The first time they met was at a coffee shop near her office. Elena was waiting in line. Kale stood behind her. Their eyes met for a moment. "Nice day," Kale said. Elena smiled. "Not really. Rained in the morning. Traffic's bad, and I think someone's following me." Kale didn't answer. He wasn't expecting that. "Just kidding," she said, turning back to the counter. But she wasn't smiling anymore. Later that day, Kale used alien tech to scan her from a rooftop. The results shocked him. There was something inside her. Something metallic, hidden near her lower spine. Not a weapon exactly, but not human either. He had seen this kind of thing before, only in war files from classified Xerion missions. Tech placed inside humans when they were children. Illegal tech. Dangerous tech. Kale felt cold. What is she? The next day, Elena left work early. Kale followed. She walked into an old bookstore, deep in the city's oldest district. No one else was there. Kale entered 5 minutes later. She was standing near a shelf, reading. Without looking at him, she said, "Following a woman 2 days in a row? Bit creepy, don't you think?" Kale froze. "I don't know what you're talking about," he said. Elena closed her book and looked at him. Her eyes were calm, not afraid. "You're not from here." Kale stayed silent. "You hide well. But your energy is different," she said, walking closer. "So, are you here to ask questions? Or to judge?" Kale spoke carefully. "I came to understand." "But you're hiding something." Elena tilted her head. "We all are." He scanned her again, more directly this time. The device on his wrist beeped. The same object appeared. Still inactive. Still hidden. Kale asked, "Do you even know what's inside you?" She smiled, but there was sadness in her eyes. "I didn't put it there. Humans don't get to choose what they're born with." As she walked past him to leave, Kale whispered, "What's between your legs isn't a weapon. Unless you make it one human." Elena stopped. She turned her head slightly and smiled, just enough to show she understood. Then she left. Kale stood alone in the bookstore, more confused than ever. Was she a threat? Or something else? He checked his wrist. Scanner again. The device inside her was still dormant. Still sleeping, but something in his gut told him it won't stay that way for long. Calrath had seen many strange things across galaxies, monsters made of metal, planets without time, species that spoke with light. But none of them made him feel like this human woman did. Elena Brooks. She was quiet, smart, polite, the perfect citizen. But she was also carrying something impossible inside her. A hidden object that didn't belong in a human body. His scan had confirmed it, but what was it? Was it a weapon, a trap, a message? Cale returned to his temporary safe house. It was a small, empty apartment with gray walls and no windows. He sat at a table and placed his wrist device on the surface. A blue hologram appeared, showing Elena's body scan. The object was there again, near the lower spine. Thin, curved, connected to nerves. Cale stared at it. Then he activated a deeper scan, one that could look into brain signals, emotional responses, and heat reactions. His screen lit up. When Elena was angry, the object warmed slightly. When she laughed, it pulsed faintly. And when Cale followed her yesterday, it blinked. Once, alive, he leaned back. If this thing could respond to feelings, it was bio-linked. That meant it was more than a machine. It was part of her. That night, Cale broke into her apartment. Silently, carefully, like a shadow. He didn't want to harm her, only to scan her up close, maybe collect a DNA sample. Her room was small and neat, books everywhere, a half-eaten sandwich on the table, a photo of her as a child, smiling, missing 2 teeth. Cale paused. Something felt wrong. She had no cameras, no alarms, no protective locks. Either she was too trusting, or she was waiting for someone to enter. He opened the door to her bedroom. Empty. But then, the door slammed shut behind him. A red light filled the room. Cale spun around. A voice spoke. If you're here for secrets, you already know too much. Elena stepped from the shadows, holding a small device in her hand. It was not human tech. It looked like something Xyrian. Cale raised his hands. I didn't come to hurt you. You broke into my home, she said coldly. That's not peaceful behavior. I needed answers, he replied. About the thing inside me? She asked, walking closer. Did your fancy scanner tell you it breathes when I dream? Cale's eyes widened. She knew about it. I don't know what it is, he said honestly. But it's not natural. Elena laughed softly. Neither are we. Not anymore. She sat down on her bed and looked at him with tired eyes. You think I'm some kind of weapon, don't you? You could be, Cale said. That thing reacts to you. Elena looked away. I was part of a project when I was 5. They told my guardian I had a rare illness, but they lied. They injected something into my spine. I remember the pain. Why? Cale asked. They wanted to create soldiers who didn't need guns, she whispered. Soldiers who are guns. Cale felt a chill down his back. But you're not a soldier. No, she said. I'm a fuse, waiting to be lit. Suddenly, Cale's device buzzed. A warning. Unknown energy spike. Target, Elena Brooks. Object inside her. It was glowing on the scan. Growing warmer. Responding to her rising emotion. Elena gripped her hands tightly. Her breath quickened. Stop, Cale warned. You're activating it. She closed her eyes and took a deep breath. Slowly, the energy faded. The scan returned to normal. See? She said, Control. That's what keeps me human. Cale walked toward the window, then turned to her. I've seen weapons destroy worlds, but they always looked like machines. I never thought one would look like you. Elena stood up. Her voice was quiet but firm. Then maybe you're looking at me the wrong way. Outside, the city lights glowed like stars. Cale walked out into the night, confused and curious. He sent a message to his command. Subject is stable, but unpredictable. Recommend observation, not elimination. Within seconds, a reply came, negative. Activate kill protocol. Cale stared at the message. then looked back toward Elena's building. She wasn't just a mission now. She was a question no one had answered, and questions, he knew, were always more dangerous than weapons. For 2 nights, Kalroth didn't sleep, not because of danger, but because of doubt. He had faced warlords, plasma storms, and black hole prisons. But nothing confused him more than Elena Brooks. She was calm, controlled, and powerful, yet she lived a normal life, pretending to be weak. Her file called her non-hostile. His instinct said otherwise, and now his command wanted her dead. Eliminate the subject. Execute Protocol 7. Kale had never questioned orders before until now. He stood on a rooftop, watching her building. Rain poured hard, but Elena's light was still on. She sat at her desk, drawing something, a symbol. He zoomed in. It was a circle split in half, with fire on one side and water on the other. Kale whispered to himself, "Balance." Suddenly, he heard a voice in his earpiece. "Proceed. She's a trigger. A living weapon." Protocol 7 was designed for her. Kind. Kale didn't reply. He just stared at her window and made a decision. The next day, he waited outside her office. When Elena stepped out, Kale appeared beside her like a ghost. "We need to talk," he said. She didn't look surprised. "You're not here for coffee, are you?" "No, I'm here to test you." They walked into an empty parking garage. Echoes bounced off the concrete walls. Kale pressed a button on his device, and 4 holographic drones appeared, shaped like real attackers. Elena raised an eyebrow. "You're pointing weapons at me?" "No, they're not real. Just a simulation. If you are not what they say, you'll walk away untouched." "And if I am?" she asked. Kale didn't answer. He just gave the order. "Begin." The 4 drones moved fast. They didn't touch her, just circled around, flashing lights and making noise. Enough to trigger fear, but Elena didn't move, her eyes closed. Her hands opened, and then the air shifted. The temperature dropped. Kale's scanner beeped. Biometric surge detected. Object interface, waking. Suddenly, all 4 drones shut down mid-air and crashed to the floor, like someone pulled their power cords. Sparks flew. Kale's heart skipped. Elena opened her eyes. They were glowing for 3 long seconds. Nothing moved. Then Elena whispered, "Don't ever test me like that again." Her voice wasn't angry, just tired. Like someone who had seen war in her dreams and didn't want to see it while awake. Kale walked slowly toward her. That was not human. "I never asked to be human," she said quietly. "But I try." She turned and walked away. Kale stood frozen. He had activated her power, but she had chosen not to use it fully. That choice scared him more than the power itself. Back at his safe house, Kale reviewed the footage. The energy surge was off. The charts, no external source. No weapon in her hands. Just raw, invisible force, controlled by willpower. He played back her words. "Don't ever test me like that again." She wasn't threatening him. She was warning him. Kale received a new encrypted file from command. Inside was a video, blurry, old. It showed a younger Elena in a secret lab. A group of men in black coats surrounded her. She screamed as something was injected into her back. Then everything exploded. Not the room, the camera. Melted from inside. The file ended with one sentence. Subject was never meant to survive. But she did. Kale turned off the screen. He stared at the wall in silence. Then he whispered, "She's not a weapon. She's a survivor. Of something we created." But something else hit him then. Protocol 7 was never meant to test her. It was designed to provoke her. Kalroth didn't believe in fate. But now, as he stood at the edge of a decision that could start a war, he wasn't so sure anymore. He had just defied Protocol 7 in order to kill Elena Brooks, a human woman carrying a dangerous secret. Not only had he let her live, he had watched her power awaken. And yet, she didn't destroy him. She spared him. That choice haunted him more than death. Scene 1. The intercepted message. The night was quiet in the city, but Kale's communicator buzzed with urgency. He opened the encrypted message. The signal wasn't from Earth Command. It came from deep space. They know she is not the only one. Others are waking up. Tervake is coming. Tervake. That name chilled him. A shadow from his past, a Zyrian commander. With no heart, only purpose. Kale whispered, "They're not trying to kill her because she's dangerous. They're trying to kill her because she's proof. Proof of something the galaxy wasn't ready to admit." Scene 2. The safe place. Elena now lived off the grid. No phones, no cameras. Only a small cabin in the mountains, powered by solar panels. And silence. Kale found her standing outside, looking at the stars. "They're not just watching anymore," he said. "They're sending someone." She didn't flinch. "Who?" "Tervake." Her jaw tightened. She knew the name. Every human. Sleeper did. "Then we're out of time," she said. Inside the cabin, Kale placed a small device on the table. It projected a glowing map of Earth, red dots blinking across continents. "Elena, you're not the only one who has changed. There are at least 12 others." Her eyes widened. "Where?" "Scattered, hidden, some don't even know what they are. Then we have to warn them." Kale shook his head. "We can't. Tervake will reach them first. And he won't ask questions." Scene 3. Flashback. Tervake's history. 10 years ago, Tervake led the Zyrian burn unit. A team built to erase illegal tech. Their mission? Find weaponized humans. And delete them from history. Not arrest. Not contain. Just clean and erase. His success rate was 100%, until one child slipped away. A girl from Earth. A girl named Elena. Scene 4. Enemies close. That night, Kale heard something outside the cabin. A figure stood at the edge of the woods, tall, wearing black Zyrian armor. It wasn't Vak. It was one of his scouts. Before Kale could move, the scout raised a strange device, and the ground beneath Elena exploded with light. She fell back, stunned. Not hurt, but something had been activated. Kale grabbed her arm. "Run!" But she didn't move. Her eyes turned bright white for a second, and the trees around them bent from the force of her energy. The scout was knocked backward 30 feet, slammed into a tree, and didn't move again. Elena fell to her knees, breathing hard. "I didn't mean to do that," she whispered. Kale looked at her, shaking. "You didn't. But your body did." Scene 5. Truth revealed. After the attack, Kale examined the scout's device. It wasn't just a weapon, it was a key. "This wasn't meant to kill you," he said. "It was meant to unlock you." Elena froze. "They're not just trying to destroy sleepers. They want a force activation. Then frame humans as a threat. Start a war," she said softly. He nodded. "And make sure no one believes you ever had a choice." Final scene. The first choice. Kale stood at the cabin door. "I can still call my ship," he said. "I can walk away. Let Zyrian finish what they started." Elena looked him in the eyes. "Then go," she said. "But if you stay, you're one of us now." A long silence. Then Kale pulled out his communicator and smashed it under his boot. "I don't follow orders anymore. Some wars are fought with guns, some with lies, but this war, it had started inside people, long before they knew they were part of it." Scene 1. Coordinates from the past. Broken memory had been stuck in Elena's mind for years. A number scratched into the back of a photo. She never knew what it meant. But now, as Kale examined the scout's stolen device, he found the same number stored inside it as coordinates. "North America, underground, a black site," he said. Elena's face went pale. "That's where I was taken as a child." Kale looked at her carefully. "Are you sure?" "I'm sure," she whispered. "It's where they put the thing in me." Scene 2. The Forgotten Facility. They found it in the middle of nowhere, a concrete door buried beneath dirt and dead leaves. It looked like part of the earth itself. No signs. No guards, only silence. Cale placed his hand on the scanner. Surprisingly, the door clicked open. "Elena," he said slowly. "They expected someone to come back." Inside, the hallway smelled like metal and mold. Wires hung from ceilings. Old screens blinked static. On one wall, faded words, Project AWKNANGILENA, stared at it. That's what they called us. Scene 3, the pod room, deeper inside. They reached a cold room. There were 12 pods, standing like statues. 10 were empty. 1 was broken. Only one still glowed. Cale wiped the dust off the glass. Inside was a girl, floating, asleep, perfectly still, dark hair, pale skin, and a face almost identical to Elena's. Elena stepped forward slowly, her breath shaking. No, this is wrong." She placed her hand on the pod. "That's my sister, Raya." Cale turned sharply. "You told me she died." "She did," Elena said. "They told me she died during the experiments." Scene 4, old footage, new pain. Cale accessed the terminal beside the pod. Video logs appeared. Old footage. Blurry voices. Subject 09 shows rapid growth. More responsive than Subject 06. Memory suppression failed. Suggest immediate stasis. Sister was told she didn't survive. Emotional separation complete. Elena stepped back, her hands covering her mouth. "They lied to me. They didn't just experiment on us. They used me to control her." Cale clenched his jaw. This wasn't science. It was a test. A weapon project with siblings as fail-safes. And they kept her locked away like cargo. Scene 5. Something's not right. The pod beeped. Cale stepped closer. Someone remotely activated the revival sequence. The lights in the room flickered. One of the old monitors turned on by itself, displaying one single word, "Awake." Then a second word, "Watching." Cale pulled out his weapon. "We're not alone." Suddenly, the door behind them slammed shut. Red lights bathed the room. Raya's eyes opened, glowing like white fire. Elena rushed to her side. "Raya, it's me. It's Elena." But the girl didn't speak. She only stared through glass, as if her mind wasn't there anymore. Cale's scanner buzzed. "Warning, neural sync detected. Subject 09 is locked into combat mode. Emotion filter disabled." "Elena," Cale warned. "She's not waking up like you did. She's waking up like a weapon." Scene 6, face to face. The pod opened with a hiss. Raya floated down, then stood. Her face was blank. Hands at her sides, she looked at Elena and whispered in a voice not her own, "You should not have come here, sister." Elena's heart broke. "Raya, please, they hurt us both. You can fight it. We can leave together." But Raya tilted her head. "Leave? They gave me a purpose. You ran from it." Cale stepped forward. "She didn't run. She survived." Raya's eyes flashed. "You brought him here?" "Another one trying to study us." She raised her hand, and the walls began to shake. Final scene, one trigger left. Elena moved between them, her body glowing slightly now. "Then use me," she said to Raya. "If that's what they made you for. If I'm the fuse, light it. I won't fight." Cale shouted, "Elena, no." But Raya hesitated. Her hand dropped. And for a moment, a flash, her real eyes returned. Soft, human. "Elena?" she whispered. Then her body collapsed. Cale rushed to catch her. She wasn't dead, but she wasn't free either. Just broken. Like a machine that forgot how to be human. She wasn't dreaming. She was falling through darkness, through memories, through pain that didn't belong to her, but somehow lived inside her bones. Elena Brooks didn't know how long she'd been unconscious. But when she opened her eyes, she wasn't in the old lab anymore. She was inside her own mind, and someone was whispering, "You were always meant to break. They just didn't expect you to break free." Scene 1. The Mind Prison. Elena stood in a white space, blank, endless. Echoes of voices passed through her ears. Subject, 06 stable. Pain response normal. Her sister failed. Wipe her memory. She turned around and saw herself as a child, crying in a glass room. Then saw Raya, eyes wide, begging, reaching. And behind the glass, a Zyrian officer watching silently. Not Kale. Someone else. T. Ravake. Scene 2. The real world, outside her mind. Kale watched over her. She was breathing. Barely. Her body glowed faintly, but not like before. This wasn't a defense mechanism. This was change. Beside them, Raya still sat quietly. Her combat mode was deactivated, but her voice hadn't returned. She stared at nothing. Kale studied both sisters. Their energy signatures were merging. Something was connecting them, something bigger than family. Incoming message from deep orbit. Targets located. Begin Phase 2. Awakening sequence approved. Kale's blood ran cold. They're activating. The rest of them. Scene 3. Worldwide event begins. Around the planet, strange things began to happen. A boy in Brazil screamed during sleep, and his entire town lost power. A girl in Japan walked into a government building, and every security camera melted. In Moscow, a young man vanished from a locked cell, leaving behind only black smoke. These were the others. The sleepers. Elena wasn't the only one waking up. Scene 4. Inside Elena. The voice. Back inside her mind. Elena heard the whisper. Again, you were not made to fight. You were made to end fights before they begin. She shouted into the void. Who are you? The voice answered, I am the part of you they couldn't delete. Then, her hands began to glow. Symbols appeared on her arms, old, alien, yet familiar. Suddenly, the void collapsed and she woke up. Scene 5, First Awakening. Kale jumped as Elena gasped back to life. Her eyes weren't glowing this time. They were burning, but she wasn't. Afraid. She stood up, slowly, silently, and walked to Raya, without a word. She placed her hand on her sister's shoulder. Raya blinked, and tears began to fall. I remember everything, Raya whispered. Kale asked, what did you do? I didn't do anything, Elena said. She woke up on her own. I just helped her feel it. Scene 6. The plan revealed. Kale connected to his ship's uplink using hidden backup systems. A message had been sent across the stars from Tervac himself. Begin global broadcast. Frame humans as the threat. Use sleeper flare events as evidence. Prepare invasion phase. Kale looked at Elena. They're not trying to stop you. They're trying to use your awakening as an excuse to wipe out Earth. Elena nodded. But now, they're too late. Scene 7. Elena's evolution. Elena looked out the cabin window. The sky was darker than usual. Stars blinked in strange patterns. Something was coming. Or maybe someone. Elena, Kale asked, how do you feel? She looked at him and said simply, I don't feel like a sleeper anymore. I feel like a signal. A signal to others like me. She closed her eyes, and across the world, the sleepers heard her. Not in words. In instinct, in pulse, in power. And for the first time, they knew they weren't alone. There was no alarm, no invasion siren, no bright laser lighting up the sky. The war didn't begin with noise. It began with a question, and it ended with an answer. Scene 1. The first strike. Over Earth's orbit, a fleet of dark ships appeared, black, silent, hiding in shadows. They didn't fire weapons. They fired a signal across the planet. Every sleeper, every modified human, felt it. Some passed out, some screamed. A few changed, but one didn't move. Elena Brooke stood still, her hands at her sides, eyes closed, breathing through the pain. They're trying to trigger a mass activation, Kale said. Force every sleeper to lose control, to make Earth look dangerous. They want panic, Elena whispered. Because panic gives them permission to kill us all. Scene 2. Inside the storm, Raya sat across from her, hands trembling. I can feel them waking up, but it's not clean. It's burning. They're being hijacked, Kale growled. Turned into weapons before they even get a choice. Elena opened her eyes. No, she said, not again. She took a deep breath, and her body began to glow, not violently, but calmly. Controlled. Kale looked at her. You're going to stop the signal? Elena shook her head. No, I'm going to send a new one. Scene 3. The last trigger. They reached the top of an abandoned comms tower, one of Earth's last surviving space broadcast stations. Kale connected his tech to the alien core, bypassing Zarya and jamming. Once you connect, he warned, they'll see you. All of them. Every fleet, every soldier, every leader watching. Good, Elena said. Let them see what they made. She stepped in front of the transmission panel and closed her eyes. The energy inside her rose, humming. Steady, alive. Kale watched the monitors as her pulse sensed to the sleeper's neural patterns. Then, her voice went out. Not just through space, but through every modified human mind on Earth. And she said, what's inside you is not a weapon. Unless they make it one. But you still have a choice. Control it. Don't let them own your power. Scene 4. The Galactic response. On Zyrian battleships, commanders waited for chaos. Instead, they saw silence. Their system showed 88% of Earth's sleeper subjects stabilizing, regaining control, resisting the trigger, and in the middle of their data feed. Signal overridden by Subject 06. Tervax smashed his monitor. She's not supposed to be conscious, let alone capable of override. But deep inside, he already knew. They had created something they could no longer control. Not a soldier, not a weapon, but a leader. Scene 5. Choice greater than violence. The Zyrian fleet aimed their weapons at Earth, waiting for an excuse. Just one wrong move. Kale stared up at the sky and whispered, if they fire, we're done. But Elena didn't. Move. She sat calmly, eyes open, watching the stars. We didn't choose this, she said. But we can still choose who we become. And then, the miracle. The Zyrian ships backed off. Not all, but enough. A message came through Kale's device. Hostile risk, lower than expected. Reevaluating invasion plan. The war hadn't ended with a fight. It ended with a refusal to fight on their terms. Final scene. Peace isn't quiet. A week later, Elena stood on a hill with Raya beside her. The world was still tense, unsure. Humans didn't know the full story. Governments were still afraid, but something had changed. The sleepers had woken up and stayed human. Kale approached her with a question he'd carried for days. Why didn't you let your power take over? Elena smiled gently. Because if I let them turn me into a weapon, they win. She looked at the horizon, glowing orange under a peaceful sky. They put something inside me, she said. But I'm the one who decides what it becomes.